It just sort of starts, basically.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm here with my friend Yeshé Konchok at his studio in East London, Dharma Tattoo, fantastic tattoo studio, one of the best in London, of course, one of the newest in London. Been here for what,
2.5, almost 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah,
oh, so actually it's been here a little while.
Yeah.
Actually, you're quite an old studio by London standards these days. Anyway, so yeah, Yeshé and I used to work together, and we thought it'd be nice to sit down and have a chat and kind of chew the fat a little bit. So yeah,
sounds good.
We met what, 5, 6 years ago?
A little bit longer now.
Oh,
so yeah, like 7 years.
That long?
7 years, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Because I've been here for 1 year, just about 1 year, and then I came and worked with you at the other shop in Shoreditch. So yeah, and I've been here 3 years. I was there 4, just a bit over 4 maybe. So yeah, about 7 years I reckon.
And when you say came here, obviously you mean as in arrived fresh off the boat?
Fresh off the boat from Australia. Yeah. So yeah, I got here 8 years ago now.
So do you want to, for people that don't know, do you want to kind of explain a bit of that? Like what, you know, you were in Melbourne, started tattooing.
Yeah, so I started tattooing on the coast in Melbourne in a place called Mornington, like in a little a very purple shop. Everything was purple in the shop. It was grey.
Which doesn't mean anything.
Grey
it just
carpet
means purple,
and purple.
literally.
Everything was purple. It's called Ink Fix. I tattooed there for a little bit, and then I moved to a shop called Celtic Sun.
Okay.
Which is equally as weird, and they're just street shops, you know. Celtic Sun was sort of like the cool one in the southeast suburbs, though, which was sort of cool. But like the guy I was getting tattooed by, Dave McAleese, he had left to go to Chapel Tattoo, which is like, if you know tattooing, then you know how important Chapel is to tattooing in Australia. If you don't know
Chapel Tattooing, check out
Chapel Tattooing in Melbourne. Yeah, super important shop. So Dave went there, and basically, like Joel, one of the other guys, was just like, hey, you should come and tattoo here. So I tattooed there for a little bit. And I moved into the city and worked at Corpus Tattoo, which was Steve Cross and Brian Graydon at the time. And tattooed there for a few years, and there's a few guys coming through, like Mick Squires, Jacqueline Ray was there. And then I came here on holiday. And
is that how we started?
Yeah, so I came here on holiday, and I was like, a friend of mine, Jess Swaffer, who I'm sure you know Jess.
Tattooed Jess, actually, years ago.
Yeah. Lovely girl. And she was like, oh, you know, you should go and guest with my friends who you owned a shop with at one point.
Right.
So I went and guested with those guys for a little bit.
Which was Cult Classic in Romford.
Cult Classic in Romford, sorry. Yeah. So I worked down there with Aaron and those boys, which was super cool, like Lee and Mike and all of those guys. And then I went to Family Business for just under a year, for like 9 months or 10 months maybe, or something like that, which was super cool, working with like, man, amazing tattoos like Jean Bosco and Cham, and so I met Stuart Archibald as well, who's like my fucking tattoo guru.
Still to this day.
Still to this day, yeah. I still annoy him with sending pictures of my drawings all the time. Like, help me with this, man. And yeah, and I was getting tattooed by Cole at the time as well, and so I came to Good Times and was hanging out a little bit, and Harriet called me. Harriet, who tattoos now as well, obviously doing really well, called me one day and asked me to come in like earlier to one of my appointments, and Nicole basically said like, we have a spot and you know, coming up if you're interested, and I was like, fucking yeah, straight away. So it was cool. And then I remember that day, so I remember I was sort of just come in, and you stopped tattooing and come over and introduce yourself.
Oh, really?
Prior to Nicole telling me. So I was like, man, that's super fucking cool. But I was like, maybe he had down the line, I was like, maybe he had an insight that maybe I was going to be offered a job. But yeah, so I still remember that first meeting. So, and then, then we worked together for like 4.5 years.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time, man.
I didn't realise. I thought it was maybe 3. I didn't realise it was...
Yeah, it was a lot longer than I thought. Like when I left, I sort of did the... chronology of it?
I suppose so. Yeah, like chronology. Yeah.
Exactly, and was like, actually, I was there for a while.
For a while, yeah. Right. But obviously, you fit in a lot of studios. I mean, how many studios have you worked in now?
I've been in total. I've been 9. I've done 9 in almost 12 years of tattooing.
That's a lot.
So yeah, I bounced around a lot. I worked in a couple for like a couple of days.
Right.
Still counts.
Okay.
But
definitely counts.
Yeah, just you know, I was, especially when I first started tattooing. You know, like in Melbourne, there's a lot of amazing tattooists. As you know, it's like it's sort of like San Francisco, New York, like you know.
But it's even more so
big
in a way.
cities, and
Melbourne, because Melbourne's smaller. than San Francisco or New York, and it's got so many amazing tattoo artists in such a small space that I'm amazed that anyone moves there. Anyone?
Well, that's it, man. When I left, I remember I was having dinner with some of the guys from Tattoo Magic and a guy called Adam Kitamoto who owns 1010.
Yeah, amazing artist.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, all of those guys. And I remember saying, like, if you get a bad tattoo in Melbourne, you're a fucking idiot. how could you get a bad tattoo?
Yeah, it's hard to throw a rock and not hit an amazing tattoo.
Yeah,
just
it's
by
impossible.
dumb luck.
And then I left, and then I went back. It was 5 years before I went back. And there's 5 years worth of better guys that I'd never heard of that have moved to Melbourne. I'm like, what?
Hence you decided to not move back there.
Yeah, I don't want to compete, man. It's too much. But yeah, that city's filled with, and whatever you want too. Like, it's not like it's, we all do this type of tattoo or that type. Man, it's everything. Everything is covered. Yeah, it's incredible. So, but yeah, so that's sort of how I ended up here anyway. And then, after Nicole's, I opened Dharma with my wife, Sally, coming up to 3 years ago now. And we've had quite a few changes and, just the learning process of being a boss and
the nature of it.
Yeah, it took, I've realized now all those years working for people and other people's shops saying like, oh, it should be this, it should be that. And they're like, God. Now I'm sort of like, oh, fuck, I get it. Finally, I'm like, oh,
turns out there's more to think about.
Like, oh, that was their shop. They were doing it the way they wanted it, not the way I wanted. So, but it's fun.
But do you feel like it's been useful? I mean, working in 9 different studios, you must have learned a lot from a lot of different people. And
definitely.
Are you now kind of implementing things in your studio and, I don't know, ways of dealing with the artist or dealing with the clients or whatever it might be that you specifically go, oh yeah, I learned this from that guy.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
How that used to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I think every shop I've worked in, I've definitely taken stuff from and tried to understand, like, okay, like when, from day one, I've always wanted my own shop. Yeah. Because I'm just a bit of a pain in the ass, I think, when it comes to things. Like, I just like shit being done my own way.
I'm going to say nothing.
I've definitely learnt stuff from that, of like, I've worked for guys that are like really hard and fast, like you get to work at this time, you leave at this time, there's no wiggle room, you have this many days holidays, you have this. And I've worked for people that are like, yeah, dude, do your thing, whatever works for you, come and go, it's no problem, you want to leave early. People that are like, oh, I absolutely don't drink, I don't party, like it's just tattoo and it's super, to people who are just like fucking want to just party as much as they can and they occasionally do some tattoos. Yeah. So like, I think it's about just finding that nice balance, man, of trying to, and working out, like when we first opened the shop, we had a different crew, majority anyway, and they had different personalities. So we needed different things to satisfy those people and make them happy and the shop environment to be happy. Now we have a whole, not a whole different crew, but we have a bigger crew. So there's more personalities, more people involved. So now it's like, okay, cool. Well, how do I make sure they're happy too? Like, cool guys, like it's not black metal 6-7 days a week anymore. Sorry, it's just the rule. Like sometimes it's like, now it's like fucking Cardi B or whatever.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. So I'm down. Yeah, we're in my room downstairs here too. So the shop's upstairs. There's 4 stations upstairs, but I tattoo down here on my own. Yeah. So it's just like, it's chill.
Which must be nice and peaceful. I mean, you don't get any natural daylight in here. But
there's not. Yeah, you can't tell from me, but there's not a window. It's literally a dungeon.
This is like the opposite of my studio.
The opposite Nick's studio.
There's lots of stuff everywhere. There's loads of colours. It's really exciting. It's really vibrant. It's really fun for me to see actually because it's, I'm used to my space now. I mean,
I when I was at your shop a few weeks ago, I thought that to myself. Though I came in and I was like, man, maybe I just want it to be nice and clean and slick. This is just like the ramblings of a madman to a degree in here.
It's nice,
but I sort of like it. This is how my house was until Sally was like, enough's enough. But yeah, it's cool, man. But
it's a beautiful studio.
The shop environment is, I think I've learned a lot from everyone. I learned a lot from you, definitely, as well, man. I think my time at Good Times was the best tattoo education I ever had in the period of learning, I guess, how a shop runs and stuff like that. Nicole was pretty good. She'd let us do pretty much whatever we wanted. There was very few times she said no. So that was really cool and stuff. And then working with someone like Mo, Mo really runs that shop as a business, but if you've ever got an issue, he's like right there. He's like, all right, cool, let's talk about this and stuff. And a few times I remember raising issues with Mo, being like, hey, and he schooled me pretty hard, and rightfully so. Okay. Because I was a young tattooer being an idiot, and so it's cool, man. It's cool. I've learned some good things from some good people, I think, over the years. Yeah,
brilliant. And what more could you ask for than that, really?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I've been very, very lucky. Yeah.
Okay, so that leads on to a pretty obvious, I think, next question, which is all of those things that you've learned obviously have helped you out with opening this beautiful studio and it getting busy. And, you know, you're getting, as you say, a lot of artists are coming through and a lot of people are interested in getting tattooed here. Yeah. If you could go back and you could help out yourself when you were starting out in your career, or even if you could go further back and you could help out yourself when you were starting out getting tattooed, what would you tell yourself? Like, what's some advice that you would give to your younger self to say, okay, do you know what? I've now got 12 years experience of tattooing. I've got, I don't know how many more years of actually getting tattooed. Yeah. What would you kind of condense that down into, if it's possible? I mean, it might not even be possible.
I think, I reckon there's a few key things for sure. I think, like, when it comes to getting tattooed, like I always wanted to have a bodysuit. I always wanted to be heavily tattooed from like a really young age. And, you know, I was hanging out in tattoo shops when I was 13, and I'm 31 years old now. So it's like the majority of my life I've been around tattoo shops. Yeah. But I never thought, how is it going to look together? I just started getting stuff. Yeah. Like, and I think, you know, I have a lot of clients that, you know, like, I mean, you're the same, you know, people do Japanese work, mainly, you know, Eastern style stuff. It's normally on a large scale. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have one or two crap tattoos that you've got to cover up. It's like there all of the time. Yeah. It's like there on one of the arms, right? So I think like the main thing I tell myself is like just think the whole body, man. And like listen to guys. Like I remember like, you know, to like sort of put this in context, I remember I got tattooed by William Yoneyama. I got a dragon on my front from him. I didn't want a dragon though. I went in, had the consult, I wanted a fox. This is like 10 years ago. And he's like, cool, and he drew a fox on, he put the plastic stuff, traced it off, and he's like, cool. And he said, oh, there's a little bit of room down here, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't know, like your dragons are cool, maybe like a little dragon head. And he's like, yeah, cool. And like a month or 2 months or whatever, how long he was waiting, this was at the time, I went in to get tattooed, and he just had this giant fucking dragon head drawn up with like a little bit of a claw. And, you know, I was like, you know, early 20s, 21, 22, maybe something like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, thanks, well, no worries, that's exactly what I want, man. And I got this huge dragon, and like later on we became pals, and I remember having dinner with his boss, Geordie Cole, one night, and they were sort of started taking the piss out of me. They're like, you wanted a fucking dragon, man. You wanted a fucking fox, man. You know, you got a dragon. And I said, how did that even go? And Will said, I said to Geordie, like, this kid wants a fox made with a dragon. And Geordie just said, don't do a fucking fox, just do the dragon, man. But like they were right at the time, you know, they were like, how much brown do you want on your front? You know, so I think just the idea of like thinking long term and thinking about how things are going to work, and then trusting the tattooer. Like we do know, we do this, and we have had our arms twisted in certain times to probably get better tattoos or whatever it might be. So I think that would be definitely one. Like think long term. How's all this going to work together? If I put something here, is this going to work in the future? You know.
And think about it as one canvas, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
man.
Really good advice.
Like, you know, like it might sound weird to people, you know, if you do it, but like to look at yourself naked in a mirror. Yeah. Like if I do that, I look like a mess. Yeah. You know, so my goal now as a tattooer is to never do that to anyone. is for them to get tattoos and be like, oh man, look how beautiful I look. Look how beautiful all of this is.
That's actually something that I always tell people, because you know you can put a design on someone and they've invariably stand too close to the mirror. They'll stand 6 inches away and they'll look at exactly just the design, and they're not standing back. And so I was going to say, stand 5 feet back so that you can see yourself from 10 feet back in the mirror and see how it looks on the whole thing.
And because that's how tattoos look. You know, it's the same as that. You know, it's a bit too like, you know, like I get that you want it to be perfect, but there's a whole, it needs to go with the body. We're wearing it, man. You know, I mean, can you imagine buying a shirt and standing like that next to the mirror? Like it's so, you know, you stand back and you look and you do the turn and whatever. And
I suppose the word suit is quite relevant. I mean, when you try a suit on,
exactly.
you never stand right
up.
You stand back.
I mean, that's a great one. I'm going to take that to tell my clients too. Yeah, for sure. So
I suppose there's something actually I've not really thought about that. Even if, I mean, I suppose I had, but even if you're getting a tattoo this big here, then it's the start of a suit in as far as you've now got this much done and the rest is negative space right now. Yeah. But
Mm.
at where that fits in relation to everything else.
Exactly.
Look at where that fits.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a really good way of saying that.
Like, and how's it going to, like, how's that going to make your body look? How's it going to, you know, like when people say things like, I want something slightly off center, you know, like maybe like some rowing down the arm, I want it slightly off center. I always say like, I'll do it on one side or the other side or center. Slightly off center looks like I fucked up.
Just looks like a mistake.
Yeah, I can't, someone be going like, who did that? Yeshé. Oh, that's crooked. It's like, you know, I mean, even if they say, well, that's where I wanted it, it's just like, I just can't, you know, it's
commit to something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like commit to this is our location. This
yeah,
is where it's going to be.
So, anyway, yeah, I think that's the main thing, definitely for a young self, and that anyone young watching this or anyone who isn't tattooed yet or not too heavily tattooed, think long term and think realistically. Like, are you really going to get a bodysuit? Are you really going to get just 2 sleeves? If so, like, how are they going to look together? How, you know, and that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Or allowing space for those things to become reality, even if you don't know it to start with.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, maybe you're going to start with 2 sleeves, and you might end up with a back piece
with
or 4 legs or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe don't get your first tattoo bang on the outside without being sure about that's what you want to
being the final guy. Yeah, for sure. So
cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of the tattoos you just mentioned about, you know, doing large scale Oriental, Japanese, Eastern, however we want to call it, style tattoos, your style's taken a bit of an angle, because I mean, just going back to you saying about starting at Good Times, I remember when Nicole told me there was a new artist starting who was a specialist in Japanese style, and my instant thought was, oh shit, am I out of a job? So,
I don't think you're ever in trouble with that, man.
No, I mean, it was exciting. It was so much fun. It was great. There was someone else to bounce ideas off and to get ideas from, and you know, to kind of share that with, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the last sort of year or so, I'm thinking you've kind of gone on a bit of an angle, and you're going more towards the kind of Tibetan Buddhist.
Yeah, for sure. Like I love Eastern stuff. I love Japanese tattoos. It's what I still remember seeing, like, it's a Tattoo Energy article, and it has like a bunch of like Japanese guys and Western guys discussing Japanese tattoos in it, and that was the one where I was like, okay, like I get it, like this is really what I want to try to be doing, and that was, you know, in the first year or 2 of tattooing, and like, but I never felt like I found my foothold in the Japanese world. Like when I first started Good Times, you know, I just come from working with Aaron at Cult Classic, who's, you know, very like Horiyoshi inspired stuff, you know, and I was like, yeah, that's where it's at. I want to do super traditional, like sharp waves and, you know, really flat colors, and, you know, and then I did that for a bit, and then I got bored. And then, you know, then I sort of changed it up a little bit, and then started looking back more at like Western stuff, more like Philip or like Shige, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And then I went from one to the other to one to the other. And then, you know, like Grimes' book came out, and I was like, oh, the next Hanya I'm doing, I'm making it fucking wild, like Grimes does it. And I did one, and I was like, oh no, actually, no, I'm not going to do that again. You know, but like,
sorry if you've got that tattoo.
Yeah.
It's a great tattoo. It's perfect.
I mean, it was a cool tattoo. Maybe, but anyway, but I'm definitely not grime, you know. But then
not many of us are.
I ended up just doing so, like through my studies. So I took refuge, which for you guys who don't know, it's like officially becoming Buddhist, like a year and a half ago.
And hence, I mean, I'm going to draw attention to
hence the name change. Yeah. So like, some people might remember me as Miles, but that's then. This is now. So it's Yeshé now. But so I took refuge. But I've been like into Tibetan Buddhism for a long time. One of my old bosses was really into it and stuff, and got me into, you know, sort of the visual aspects of it, the artwork and stuff. And, you know, a few years ago I started getting into the practice of it and stuff. So, but basically, the more I got into that, I started just doing some more drawings and sort of, you know, messing around with stuff. I ended up telling one of my friends, Rebecca, and it just sort of felt so natural and right, you know, like sort of like fine line stuff, which I've always sort of preferred over bold lines. Black and grey, which I feel more comfortable working in, because I think my colour palette isn't always. Sometimes I do stuff and I'm like, maybe that looks fucking weird, you know, maybe that didn't work. And then I like using a lot of white in it. It gives a lot of contrast, even though it heals and it looks a bit yellowy. I still think it looks cool, you know. So I did one on her. I did like a Tara head on her leg, and then like 2 days later, someone's like, oh, I want to get something the same. And then it just happened, you know. So, and it just feels more natural. I understand it a little bit more. It feels really familiar. And I learned something from you, definitely, of like I was, you know, like when I was tattooing at Good Times, my mentality was like, I have to try to be the next, like the next Philip or the next Horiyoshi or the next Mike Roper. And it's just like, you're never going to catch those guys.
No.
Not only are they so far ahead, so much more experienced and the best that there has been, they're also still doing it. So they're still going, like, it's just like...
And they're also them. They're not chasing
them.
someone else.
And that's what it comes down to, man. And then when I started doing this stuff, there was no pressure.
Yeah.
Which made me realize with my tattooing, I don't feel pressure. I just need to do the best tattoos I can do and that I want to do. And like, yeah, like, who wants to be fucking Grime? Grime's Grime.
Grime's Grime, and he's doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing the best job of being Grime.
Yeah, so I don't want to be him. I want to be me. I want to do my thing and whatever. And even if mine is, you know, it's very derivative of Tibetan artwork, that's what I just like doing, man. And that's what I love. So
sure. And Japanese tattooing is very derivative of all of their prints. I mean, that's where we get it from. That's where it comes from. So, you know.
So, so that was pardon me, the reason behind that change really is, but it was quite natural. It was quite just a thing that happened, and yeah.
Are you sort of getting more of the meaning, more of the stories into the motifs you're doing now? Because I mean, you know, when some people who specialize in Japanese style tattooing, they really want to go down this rabbit hole of this has to mean certain things, and we can't, you know, cross-reference things, and we can't, you know. I mean, different seasons being the most commonly known one, you know, in Japanese tattooing.
Snakes and cherry blossoms, right? That's that's the one thing I hear everyone
And some
say.
people don't mind. Some people just go, like myself, I don't really mind too much. I kind of go, look, let's put our cards on the table. I'm not Japanese, my client's not Japanese. We're paying homage. You know, we're trying to do something which is beautiful, and it's visually beautiful, and it's respectful, but it hasn't got to be, you know, 100%. But are you going more down that road?
I'm sort of leaning more towards what you're doing, to be honest, because I spoke to my teacher Lama Zangmo one day, and you know, I'd been at the center, and there's not that many heavily people going to the Buddhist center that's heavily tattooed. Right. I sort of stick out a little bit, right? I try to wear long sleeves and be what, I mean, now no one cares, but especially at the start. And I sort of touched on it with her, and she was like, absolutely do not do these tattoos on people.
Really?
It's like, you shouldn't do it. And I was like, okay. So one of the monks, Damcho, he was like, yeah, I think it's fine, but ask Lama, and asked her, and she's like, no.
What was her reason?
It's a little bit disrespectful, she said, you know. So I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, and I rethought it, and then I thought, well, maybe the way around that, to a degree of me maybe not, you know, causing too much offense, is to keep it a bit free and loose. Yeah. You know, so okay, like, you know, I do like a beautiful something that resembles Tara and stuff like that, and that's sort of the meaning, but like, it can have a little bit of aspects that aren't that, because that sort of leans into the fact of maybe it not being exactly that, but it still has, it has the look of that I want to make on tattoos and stuff like that, or what it might be, you know. But yeah, because there's no culture of tattooing in Tibetan Buddhism at all.
None at all?
None.
That's fascinating, because it's referenced so much throughout tattooing. I just assumed that I didn't know.
No. I mean, if you look at Thailand, monks are tattooed, for sure. Yeah. Very heavily tattooed in Burma and places like that. But yeah,
I didn't know that.
None in Tibet. They weren't interested in it. So, so it never... Yeah, it's sort of like a weird thing to them. It's sort of like, well, why would you even? I don't you know, because, you know, especially because they're like, well, you shouldn't have so much pride in your appearance. Like, you should look after your body and stuff, but you don't need to. It's just a vehicle for, you know. So you know, so I think to then put these, you know, very important deities and icons on it is seen as maybe a negative thing to a degree. So I think leaning away from it in some circumstances is fine. Yeah. You know, making it a bit loose, but I never do anything with, you know, I never do these things because I'm like, oh, this will be cool, and people think I'm cool. Yeah. You know, I think the artwork's beautiful. I love it. I wear a lot of it myself. I think it's cool. I know who's who and why's what, and I study this, and I study it as a life as well as making tattoos. So I just think, I'm not a bad dude doing this. Like, I'm not trying to take advantage of it or abuse it, you know. I see a lot of stuff, like, from Robert Beer's book that everyone has, all tattooers that are watching this, you'll know, you know, being thrown in places and stuff, and that's fine. And sometimes it is a little bit like, but then you could pick that out of every single culture that there is and say,
that's the thing. I mean,
you're not allowed this and you can't do that. So
I suppose you go down this path of cultural appropriation or reappropriation or something, which is a dangerous road, a difficult road to tread maybe for us, because you want to be respectful and you want to not take the piss, essentially. You don't,
exactly.
You don't want to tread on someone else's culture, but at the same time you kind of want to go, but I want to celebrate it in a way that works.
I mean, otherwise I'd be just tattooing kangaroos and koalas all day. There wouldn't be, what else is there for me to do? You know, not
even didgeridoos, I suppose. But
no, I wouldn't, definitely not that tattoo. Yeah, so it can. I think it can become a bit difficult if you restrict yourself so much. And I think, you know, I was definitely, you know, when I was at Good Times a lot, that's what I was doing a lot, restricting, instead of actually just letting stuff be creative. And remember, man, we are fucking tattooers. To a degree, there is part of us that, you know, it's like most older guys as well. Like I mean, I'm still young in tattooing, you know, in the scheme of things, but most tattooers are shitheads. That's how they got into tattooing. Yeah. Younger kids now, they're not. They're like art guys, which is cool. It's super exciting to see. But most tattooers were sort of a bit shitty at one point. So, you know, let's not all get on a moral high horse too quickly. Which I've been guilty of, very much so. I should just point that out. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I haven't been. But now I'm trying not to be.
Well, it's a process. I mean, we've all been through that when we're younger, and we all, you know, we work that stuff out.
Yeah, for sure. So,
you know, it's all about providing the best thing for the client, whatever that might be. Really.
Well, they're the wearer at the end of the day too, right?
They're going to wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tattoo's not for us. It's not for our portfolio, and I think we both agree on that.
Definitely.
You know, as a concept, it's not. As you say, it's not about here's a cool thing that I did and that makes me a cool guy. It's just this is what this person wanted. And it's what they're wearing. It's their life. It's their body. So
how many tattoos have we done that we were super stoked to do, and the client comes in and decides they want it different to how we did it?
Me, none.
And we're well, the rest of us, and then they get
a lot.
They get bummed out on. You know, you get bummed out on that, and you think like, oh, that could have been so cool. Yeah. Well, they're still wearing that, and none of that shit's in my portfolio. So what do I like? What you know, it becomes irrelevant, and it becomes, you know, if you can take that ego side of it, I guess, sort of.
I think so.
It can be actually a lot more relaxed. We don't have to be so uptight, you know, and we can just be a bit more free and loose. Yeah. Especially if, you know, like, even though I get to do a lot of what I want to do, I still want to be a street shop tattooer. I own a street shop, you know. I want to be able to do whatever walks in the door and do a cool job of it and make it interesting. Or just do some Roman numerals too and chat to the guy or girl who's getting them, and that's cool as well. So, you know, just like sort of just be a tattooer, man, you know.
That's probably a good place to hold fire. Just be a tattooer, man. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I mean, thank you so much for having the chat. Really appreciate it.
No worries, man. It was super cool to see you again, and thanks for coming into the shop. And
pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tune in again, and obviously there'll be some more videos at some point. But in the meantime, thanks to Yeshé, and see you for the next one. Take care.